right? I think oftentimes agile facilitators are way too permissive, you know, and it degrades the quality of what it degrades the integrity of the work that groups are doing. And I, for one, I'm a stand for integrity. You know, I'm a stand for workability. And, you know, so part of being a vertical facilitator is being a stand for something, being a stand for the integrity of the work that groups do. You know, in a VUCA world, we can't fuck around. Excuse my language. Not really, but just in case. But, you know, this is not about getting a group to go someplace where you want them to go, but it's also not about um, um, how do I want to say this? It's also not about avoiding going places that are necessary given what a given group is doing, given what they're committed to, given what they're up to. So it's actually fairly simple, but it gets complicated in our own minds, and it gets complicated because somewhere there's a fear. For many of us, there's a fear in working with groups. Yeah, how many people can relate to that? There's a kind of a fear. I mean, I know it's there for me. It's true for all of us as human beings. There's an innate fear of working with groups. Who we are as human beings, we arise in relationships. And I was very much affected toward this sort of thinking about 20 years ago. I encountered a book by a guy who was a friend of mine, actually many years ago, when we were both living in Boston. He was at Harvard Medical School, and his name is Daniel Siegel, and he wrote this book. Now I'm forgetting the name of it, but basically he talks about the fact that as human beings, literally our brains develop in relationship with our caregivers. So it's in our relationships that who we are arises. So as human beings, we always exist in relationship with other people. Even somebody who's a hermit is in relationship with people because, you know, there are people in that person's life. There's no human being. So like we've all heard those research that talks about human beings that were raised by wolves or wild animals. Well, they become wild animals, right? Because what it is to be human is to have our psyche formed in relationship with other psyches. So like in this moment right now, can you feel that you and I are in relationship, right? And I'm in relationship with everybody here, and relationship developing mind is what it is. Thank you, Astrid. Developing mind. My favorite book of his, by the way. He's a brilliant man. But anyway, so and it's not just by virtue of language. Language, we also, as human beings, we are constituted in language. And there's just no way of getting around that. And, you know, even people who meditate, they say, well, you know, what about when you're in meditation? There's no language when you're in meditation. And then I could go through an experiment with that person and find out how much of their meditation sessions are they in that zone where there is no language. Because I understand that I've been in that zone, that what they in Buddhism they call it, Tibetan Buddhism they call it shunyata, and but what percentage of our lives, for most of us, do we exist in that realm? A tiny percentage, right? Most of the time, we live in the realm of language and relationship. So, anyways, just to elaborate what what I meant when I wrote those sentences.
Got
But
it.
it's really important for us as vertical facilitators because when people are with other people, relationship is fraught. And for the most part, what we're present to when we're in relationship with other people is relationships with other people who aren't in the room. So, to some degree, I'm in a relationship with you in this moment, Ken, but I'm also in a relationship with other people that I've been in relationship with in the past, right? And we've all been around people who trigger us, right?
Mm.
Anyone not been around someone who's triggered you, or you just find yourself getting annoyed or strangely bored around them, you find yourself falling asleep around them or whatever. So any kind of emotional reaction, right? We all have. It's that person triggers a somatic memory of another relationship that you've had at some point in your past, and you may not even remember what that relationship was.
And that's what you mean by the term foundational, because essentially we've
That's
got all of these different quote unquote relationship type or relationship almost memories, for lack of a better word. And
yes,
as we are roaming around, not even mindful of it, when
yes.
we interact with someone else, we're not just interacting with that person, we're reaching back to whatever, to your point, whatever that reminds us of or takes us back to. So consequently, we're just moving around in that all day long and not even noticing it. Okay.
Right. That's right. And so that's gonna come up in, especially when we work with groups. In a sense, doing this kind of work is a kind of performance.
Mm.
That's going to sound strange, maybe even sacrilegious to some people. But this is something that one of my early coach trainers taught me, Otto Lasky, that, that coaching, we're always in a role. It's not like you're being yourself as a coach, but it's not like you're not being yourself either. So it's a contradiction, a dichotomy. I'm being totally myself. And to the degree that I can be totally myself and totally present to what's going on with me, my generally friendly demeanor can come across, which is what you're pointing to, Dimple. One of the things that we want to be able to talk about in vertical facilitation is using what you've got, leveraging what you've got. Whatever, every one of us as a human being can cast a spell. And we just, each of us has a different kind of spell we can cast. And so understanding the nature of that spell we can cast is a very powerful, we are an instrument for transformation, as every one of us, potentially.
Yeah, the thing I've experienced with that, not always, because I saw it was great to see all the hands go up. Yeah, we experienced this fear, of course. But the thing that I've experienced in what you described there is if you are acting that sort of role, so you are yourself, but then you're also in that other role, you in a way, and it's a very broad sort of thing that I'm saying here, but in a way you have a protection against, or you have an ability to not get sucked in, because it's not attacking your identity. You're not bringing your whole identity in this space. You're acting that role, and it's like a special suit of armor that, or a special magic multicolored coat that's going to help you, because it's not that emotionally direct.
Well, so it's a bit more nuanced than that, if I may say, Ray.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And so yes, but what that does is it's kind of like permeable. What it lets in and what it lets out are genuine emotions, right? But what it doesn't let in are my projections of other people. So consider that for the most part, when we interact with other people, what we're interacting with is our own interpretations and projections of those people. I'm not saying that necessarily as a truth, but as a working hypothesis, that oftentimes that's what we're doing. And but to be emotionally present, see, in order to be able to vertically facilitate, in order to be able to create the possibility of people moving beyond their limitations, in order to be someone who can create that possibility for other people, requires that we be emotionally permeable, that we be like emotionally present, right? But at the same time, to be able to manage the triggers that arise from being emotionally present. So you're right, Ray. It's divesting myself of my identity in what I'm doing here, my normal everyday identity, to the degree to which that identity is real and true anyways. That's a whole other matter. That's for a different course. The hardest thing in doing this kind of work is, things in groups get messy, don't they? And unexpected things arise, don't they? And we have an innate sense that we have to do something to fix it. That our role as coaches and facilitators is to fix something that is apparently broken when things get wonky or weird or strange or whatever. And then we kind of move into a mode of managing the moment that's actually the least helpful thing that we can do to try to fix something. Because first of all, that assumes that there's something broken. There may not be. In fact, there probably isn't. And moreover, it assumes that whatever's broken, we understand what's broken enough such that we could fix it, which is an incredibly erroneous assumption. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's two erroneous assumptions built on top of one another. And yet, for the most part, we're unaware that that's what we're doing in the moment. And we're left oftentimes with a feeling of confusion. Confusion is the emotional turmoil that arises when we are in a dilemma. And the dilemma that we're in is that we feel like we need to do something to fix something, but we don't know what's broken and we don't know how to fix it. All of which, of course, is built on top of the fundamental error, which is that there may not be anything broken to begin with.